On behalf of Jacobs, it's my pleasure to introduce Dirk Ahlborn, CEO and founder of Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, and his discussion, it's not hype, it's reality. The Hyperloop is fast approaching. At Jacobs, we believe the world needs innovators and problem solvers who turn challenges into great opportunities. That's why we're invested in reimagining an infrastructure future that delivers more from society. Projects like Metrolinx's GO expansion and our Calgary Southwest Ring Road project are some of those examples. These projects that not only deliver in terms of fiscal responsibility, they also focus on improving community well-being, public safety, business productivity, and quality of life. Dirk and HyperloopTT are an example of the global innovations underway that will radically transform the way we travel, better connecting people and cities across vast distances with incredible speeds. Since 2013, they've been designing and engineering the world's most advanced low-pressure, high-speed, completely sustainable, tube-based transportation system. Dirk is an experienced entrepreneur known for his ability to bring unique companies to life. His work has focused on leveraging the power of crowdsourcing the internet, exponential technologies, and the vanguard of the global sharing economy. Today, Dirk will lay out his vision for the future of HyperloopTT, how it will shape the future of the work and disrupt our perceptions of what mobility means. Please help me in welcoming Dirk Ahlborn.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everybody. So as you just heard, my name is Dirk Ahlborn, and I'm, one of the founder and actually now the chairman of Hyperloop Transportation Technologies. And we say that we transform transportation at the speed of sound. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? So who here actually knows what the Hyperloop really is? Okay, I'll test you guys later. For everybody else, there's a little video here that explains how it works, so enjoy.
Imagine a capsule. Imagine a capsule that can carry people. Placed inside a depressurized tube, the air removed to eliminate resistance. Not traveling on rails, but actually levitating above them. Capable of reaching airplane speeds and beyond on the ground. This is a Hyperloop, and it is amazing. Even more amazing, at Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, we haven't been imagining it, we've been building it for the better part of 5 years. And amazing is where we started. We're transforming the passenger experience, putting comfort and safety at the center of everything we're doing. Our reimagined linear electric motor is powered by sustainable solar energy, propelling the capsule on a completely new, incredibly efficient passive levitation system. With these two breakthroughs, our system is capable of giving energy back to the grid. And when something didn't exist, we invented it. Introducing Vibranium, a composite material that monitors speed, capsule integrity, and atmospheric condition in real time, a new benchmark in passenger safety. And we're not done. Our team of over 800 strong, a worldwide intellectual ecosystem of thinkers and problem solvers, tackle each day with the humble goal of changing the world. With its speed and efficiency, the Hyperloop will rewrite the rules of travel and mobility. But that's just one side of the story. There's another side that will have a far greater impact. It's the side that redefines how we connect with one another. Where distant friends become neighbors, countries become neighborhoods. And everybody who inhabits this big, crazy world of ours grows a little closer together. Just imagine that.
All right, so to reiterate, what is a Hyperloop? Imagine a capsule, basically an airplane without wings, hovering inside a tube and moving really, really fast, just below the speed of sound, from one point to the other. Inside this tube, we're creating a low-pressure environment. So basically, we are recreating the same conditions an airplane has in very high altitudes. So that the capsule can go very fast with very little energy, because there's no resistance anymore. The whole system is completely green. We're using alternative energy. We're using solar, wind, kinetic energy through regenerative braking, and depending on the climate, even geothermal. This is a very important part because we're actually able, in many cases, to even produce more energy than we're using. So this was actually, by the way, these numbers are Canadian numbers. So it's an important part. Why? Because not because we want to be green, even so we probably all should try to, but you see there's a big problem when it comes to rail, metro, and that is that they don't make economic sense, right? They're all relying heavily on government subsidies. Our project can actually be profitable, and that's because, in a big part, of the fact that we are consuming very little energy and we're producing our own energy. But I'll get into that a little bit later as well. So why do we need what they call the fifth mode of transportation? This is why. Traffic, right? We all spend a lot of time in traffic. Time that, well, we could be more productive, or maybe more importantly, we could be with the people we care about. Traffic is so important that based on where we live, we decide where we work. Think about that. Well, and where I live, you even decide who you date, because if she lives on the other side of the city, it's probably not going to work out. Well, and then we have Beijing on a sunny day. On a bad day, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. And to be fair, it has gotten a little bit better, but when we think about pollution, we often think about China or India. But even here in North America, you are losing roughly 14 months of your life thanks to pollution. Now, of course, transportation is only part of that, but it's important enough that governments around the world are starting to create regulations to move transportation to greener alternatives. Well, and then we have the railroad industries. They're what we would call literally a dinosaur industry, right? They haven't changed much. They're still basically, if you think about it, the same they used to be several hundred years ago. So these are standard railroad tracks. In most parts of the world, this is how we're building rail. The distance between the rail is 1 meter 43.5. Some countries have it a little bit larger, which is actually good, but does anybody know why 1 meter 43.5 is the exact distance? No? The Roman carriage. So basically, we are building new infrastructure in 2019, 2020, based on the butt of 2 horses. That's how much innovation we have been doing. But we can do a better job, right? And then again, it doesn't make economic sense. So this is an example of the Los Angeles Metro, which makes 76 cents per passenger, and $2.50 are coming from taxpayer money. Of course, you can say it's LA, everybody's sitting in their cars, and that's why the metro doesn't make money. And partially, you might be right. But even New York, which is one of the busiest metros in the world, loses 82 cents per passenger. That's $2.2 billion every single year. Germany subsidizes their rail network with approximately 23 billion euros. And it goes on and on like that all over the world. So how would our lives actually be if we had a Hyperloop? Well, another big problems that we're having are airports, right? We're building more and more of them. They're overflowing. Often they're fairly close to the city. With a Hyperloop, we would be able to connect these airports and, well, they would become terminals between each other. Or we could build them much further out and still be there just within minutes. When it comes to freight, we'd be able to get freight from China to Europe, for example, within hours rather than within weeks. We're able to deliver in most parts of a country, for example, within an hour, with just a couple of warehouses, creating literally an on-demand economy. And that's very important. But most people, to be honest with you, care about this probably much more. You can live in one place and work in another. Right? It changes the way that we live. We're able to create what we would call mega regions. So larger, it changes the city. It's able, like we have to rethink how people live. Where do they work? What are the opportunities they're having? And I think that's very exciting. It's probably as exciting and as big of a change than what the railroads did in the 1800s. So if a city had a connection to the railroad, it would continue to flourish. Here, we need to expand. Cities are overflowing. Everybody wants to be in the center. And we're building satellite cities, but nobody really wants to live there, right? With a Hyperloop, you can live 100, 200 kilometers away and still be there within 10 minutes, directly in the city center. Much, much cheaper and a much better quality of life. So I think that's very important, very exciting. So how are we doing this? How are we building the Hyperloop? So it turns out it's not as difficult because most of the technology is already there, and we're using a very unique approach. We're working with people that already know how to do this, the experts, rather than reinventing everything from zero. So there's a little video that shows you a small overview.
Of a historic breakthrough in mobility. Connectivity is everything, and now we are ready to connect people by a new form of transportation. It's called the Hyperloop, a system that moves people and goods on the ground at and beyond airplane speeds. And since 2013, Hyperloop Transportation Technologies has been at the forefront of making the Hyperloop system a reality. And we're building today. Utilizing a combination of existing and new technologies, including vacuum systems, magnetic levitation, linear motor systems, automation, and renewable energy, our Hyperloop system will be both high-speed and resource efficient, with a safe and comfortable experience for passengers and cargo. Our system is designed for departures every 40 seconds and a maximum speed of 1,200 kilometers per hour. It is capable of moving 164,000 passengers on a single line in one day. HyperloopTT's technology breakthrough is a next-generation passive magnetic levitation system. It's called InductTrack, and it's revolutionizing transportation. Neodymium magnets in a Hallback array enable passive levitation over an unpowered but conductive track, and as capsules move through the low-pressure environment, they use very little energy en route, thanks to the reduced drag forces. The InductTrack system was tested and validated on a full-scale passive levitation track. HyperloopTT improved the technology and optimized it for a low-pressure environment through testing in our prototype. Beyond InductTrack, our tech has already yielded 27 patents, with further development taking place in our innovation hubs around the globe. To build this extraordinary system, HyperloopTT has assembled an expert team of over 800 engineers, creatives, and technologists with unparalleled experience. We're also partnering and co-developing with the best companies in the world. Atkins, Isaiah, Leibold, Carburas, Pacadar, Priestman Good, and Talgo are among the 40 best-in-class partners that are part of the HyperloopTT core team. All have decades of engineering and manufacturing experience in critical industries like tunnels, tubes, aerospace, aeronautics, vacuum pumps, and pylons. The combined experience of our partners gives us the power to leverage decades of development and save millions in research. That's why our system is already feasible and insurable, according to Munich Re, the world's largest reinsurance company. The original Hyperloop company is about to bring the world closer together than ever before. Hyperloop Transportation Technologies.
Yes, so as I mentioned, the technology was already there. When we looked at it, we realized there's several ways on how you can do this. It was very important to figure out the best ways. But at the end, if you think about it, we know how to move a train, right? We know how to make a train levitate. We know how to have a capsule inside a low-pressure environment. Airplanes, spaceships are exactly just that. We know how to build tubes, actually building quite a lot of them. We know how to build pylons. We know how to create a vacuum inside a tube. This is a picture of the CERN particle accelerator in Switzerland. And the pressure used here is 100,000 times more difficult to maintain than the one that we are using, actually. And the company responsible for that is part of our team. So that's really the approach. Work with the people that already know how to do things. Don't try to re-innovate it. Right? We innovate where it's needed, not, we don't try to learn how to build tubes. There are people that are probably going to do that much better than us. Alternative energy is a very safe bet, right? It's kind of like the silicon chip. It's getting better and better and cheaper every single year. So today we know that we are able, with the latest solar technology, to cover our complete energy costs in California, for example. But tomorrow we know that's going to be cheaper and even better. But we're doing something else a little bit different. We're building a company in a completely different way. And this is probably the part that I'm personally am most excited about. So, normally when you talk about a train or a metro, this is where it's happening, right? Behind closed doors. Maybe you hear that they're planning to build something. Maybe you hear how much it's going to cost or supposed to go to cost, but that's kind of it. You're not able to participate. So what we're doing is we're doing something that we call crowdstorming. And crowdstorming really means that we work with everybody. We work with the public, we work with you, we work with the local community. We have the unique opportunity to build a transportation system the way it should be done in 2020. So, let's be honest, what's out there today isn't really great. We all know that it can be done better. But in our case, we start with a blank piece of paper. We don't have those restrictions, because at the end, there is no Hyperloop yet. So we can restart from zero and think, how should it be? So we need to question everything. Things like, do we need a ticket? And not only do we need a paper ticket, but is a ticket the right way to monetize? Or are there better ways on how you can generate income? Right? I think about, when I was a kid, for example, I was buying video games and they were fairly expensive. Today, my kids play video games for free, but the video game companies are making way more money than they used to because they switched their business model, right? And we can do that here too. If you think about how much money we are spending in marketing to get people to places where they're able to spend their money, but yet when it comes to transportation, you're there. You're basically a captive audience, and nobody is trying to entertain you while making money. I'll be on a flight tonight for 13 hours, and I'm just going to sit there. I've seen all the movies. Nobody is really trying, and I would probably buy plenty of services. So there are ways that you can change things, but at the end, it's all about the passenger first, right? Building something that makes the passenger happy, and at the same time creates more income for the transportation company. course, first and last mile issues are still there, so you need to consider that as well. How do you integrate with them? How do you create a seamless experience? And we have something that we call the naked passenger. The naked passenger is a concept, if you think about it, if you're naked, there's a couple of things that, you don't have your wallet, you don't have your cell phone, and you want to ideally not be waiting around. So that means that you need to have technology that just works, that's seamless. So all of this is part of building the best possible transportation system that we can, together with our partners. Another example here are our virtual windows. So we have a problem in the Hyperloop because we're inside a tube. We don't have windows. So we're using screens, and with a parallel effect, we are moving the image based on where you're looking. So we have cameras that are seeing the position of your head and your eye, and they're moving this image. So you get the illusion of really looking outside of a real window. But now that opens up a couple of other opportunities, right? Because rather than just showing what's actually outside, you can go through, Jurassic World, Terminator Land, Game of Thrones, right? For you, it's an experience, but for the transportation company, it's actually a way of generating income. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It needs to be a win-win situation. So why are we doing this? Why are we working this way? When Elon Musk proposed this idea in 2013, I was part of a non-profit incubator that was funded by NASA. And we were working on a new way on how to build businesses. You see, today you do everything online, right? You get your groceries online, you can get your dry cleaning online, you can find your boyfriend, girlfriend online. In the US, you can even get divorced online. But when it comes to building a business, it's something that happens very much offline. You're sitting with a friend somewhere in a bar, you're talking about this big problem you want to solve, and, you get going on it, and 6 months later you realize that nobody else had that problem. Or maybe you figure out that you couldn't actually understand how to make money. Most businesses fail for lack of insight and lack of experience. Now imagine you would have 1, 10, 100, or maybe even 1,000 people that give you their honest opinion, their ideas, their connections. You're able to build a much better business. So we built a platform. We built a platform to connect people that share the same passion. And when I heard that Elon Musk said he was too busy to work on this and he wanted someone else to pick it up, I thought this is a perfect project to test our model. So we reached out and we asked for permission to put it onto the platform. And then we asked our community, should we be working on this? And not only did they say, yes, you should be doing this, but actually most people said, hey, I want to be part of this. So we incorporated the company, got a small team together and said, everybody who would like to join and work in exchange for stock options in the company with a minimum of 10 hours per week, please apply. We got around 200 applications, got a team together of around 100 engineers at that time, and started working on the feasibility study because we didn't even know was this possible. We had no idea at that time. The feasibility study was finished at the end of 2014. Today, we're over 800 people, in addition to over 50 companies that are kind of working in the same way. Most of these people are still working in exchange for equity in the company. We have a full-time team of roughly 60 to 70 people now. And it works amazingly. These are some of the partners that we're having in terms of the companies that are involved. And, as you see, they're not, they're not just some companies. They're leaders in their field. So even those 800 people, they're not just some guys in a chat room. they're working their hours, they have their deliverables, they're working in teams, they have, they're actually giving their knowledge and their time to the project as any specialist. And sometimes it's much better when you have the head of NASA for 10 hours, right, just on a specific subject that he really knows well, than someone else for 40 that knows a little bit of everything. So, but to give you an example, Artificial, they were called Caboores before. They're building airplane frames, right, composites for Airbus and Boeing. Catalyst is one of the leading database companies in Austria. We have been working with Munich Re, the largest reinsurance company in the world, and many, many, many more. Leybold, the inventor of the vacuum pump. The whole model is a Harvard case study. So Harvard started teaching us, I think, 2.5 years ago. So I highly recommend you to read the case study, and if you have any questions, just reach out, because I believe that this is a great way on how you can innovate. We realized when we started out that we had to do more than just build a company. We had to build a movement. And that's what it is today. You have several companies, you have universities all around the world working on it. Actually now, from a movement, it has changed and transformed into an industry. But I believe that every company should be a movement. So definitely take a look. Well, now we are almost, well, I call it glocal. We're a global company, but we're local at the same time. We have offices in California, in Brazil, in Spain, in France, in Toulouse, our R&D center, in Slovakia, and in the Emirates. But we have team members a little bit all around the world. We are Chinese as much as we are French, as much as we are Spanish, as much as we are American or even Canadian. So, and that really allows us to know the local problems. It's also one of the reasons why we're working globally. So these are most of the projects which we're working, and you can see that there are quite a lot. And you need to do that because, of course, you know how it is when you work with politicians. They're often not around so long, right? So you risk that you do an agreement with someone, and then maybe 6 months later, a year later, or even 2 years later, they're not there anymore. So you have to put a lot of irons in the fire. Some of these do stand out, so. Great Lakes, and I will talk about that a little bit more, and I think that's very important for this region, is a very large 3P project for a feasibility study, the first of its kind, actually, for Hyperloop. And we announced some of the results yesterday, so I'll be talking about them. And it definitely, also includes Toronto at one point in the future. So I think it's a very important part. But in Toulouse, we have our R&D center. That's where we are right now assembling the world's first complete prototype. We're doing the complete integration of all the different technologies that have been tested throughout the last 6 years, before moving to Abu Dhabi in the Emirates, where we have an agreement for the world's first commercial system. We already did, together with Dirk, the engineering and design phase, so we're getting ready to break ground. Same in China. In China, we have a contract for another commercial line and many different feasibility studies around the world. All right, but when? When are we going to see the Hyperloop? And a little bit, I just talked about that in the last slide, but I would say the good news is that it's happening now. It's not something that your grandkids might going to see, but it's something that's happening in our lifetime. It's something that, it's happening now. We're ready to build, and that's a very important part. We have been quite busy over the last 6 years in creating partnerships and doing deals with governments and working on everything needed in order for the commercialization, scouting technologies, creating new ones. So now the system is ready. And actually, partially, we already started building it. So I think it was last year we presented the world's first passenger Hyperloop capsule in Spain. It was built together with our partner Caburis, so Artificial, and presented to the world. And you can see that on this picture, I think you can see a little bit the dimensions. This is basically like building a regional jet. So this is a pressure vessel. This capsule can go in a low pressure environment and the air doesn't go out. Here's a little video about it. When you're thinking about how to solve what's wrong today in transportation, it takes more than just one person, one company. It literally takes a movement. And that's what we're doing. We started to manufacture the first full-scale passenger Hyperloop capsule in the world. We're working with the best in class.
I'm Paul Priestman, and I'm the chairman of Priestman Good. We're the leading transportation design company in the world. We work in many sectors, in the aviation sector, the rail sector, and even in space. It's been great working with Hyperloop Transportation Technologies. Their ethos is very similar to ours here at Priestman Good. What we're trying to do jointly is develop the most modern, the most futuristic form of transport.
We developed a new material. We called it vibranium. Vibranium is the safest material on Earth. It's intelligent. It actually senses integrity. It monitors impact. We're manufacturing